Slave statistics in Brooklyn. Brooklyn, New York was a farming community filled with homesteads that relied on enslaved people and indentured servants. They cleared fields, planted crops, harvested, tended animals, and carted goods to town. In 1698, the Kings County Census records showed 2,107 people lived in Brooklyn. From that number, 29 out of 90 households listed enslaved people. 19 listed indentured servants, and 4 listed enslaved people and indentured servants. The average farm in Brooklyn in 1698 had 2 unfree workers. For example, the Middaugh family of Sarah Ryerson Middaugh and John Middaugh was one of the many slave-holding families in Brooklyn. The Middaugh homestead in the history of the city of Brooklyn is a property with a large enslaved population. During the second half of the 18th century, Kings County was the second largest slaveholding capital in the United States, with South Carolina being the first. New York was the second to last state to abolish slavery in the North. In 1799, New York lawmakers started the formal process of ending slavery. To prepare the enslavers to be without their property, slavery was phased out gradually, and New York State enacted the Gradual Manumission Law. It stated that if enslaved people were born before 1799, they would become free on July 4, 1827. If an enslaved woman were born after 1799, she would be free upon turning 25, while enslaved men became free at 28. Then, in 1817, an amendment to the law stipulated that all forms of slavery would end in New York State on July 4, 1827. Some enslavers were not happy about this law. They chose to enter into indentured servitude contracts with their slaves. One example comes from the Wyckoff family. A 12-year-old child named Jack was transferred, another way to say sold, as an indentured servant from Nicholas Schenck to Abraham Wyckoff. The contract states that Jack would be forced to serve the Wyckoff family until the age of 21. The wax seal on the document is dated January 1, 1819. The structure of racial slavery, from its beginning and ending in Brooklyn and the rest of the United States, created a power structure whose threads are still felt today in racism and discrimination in employment, education, housing, policing, birth, and death.